Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gretchen and today I am here with another Booker Prize Longlist review, and today's book is The South by Tash. So a couple things to talk about before we get into what the book is about. The first thing that I want to mention is that this is actually the third time that this author has been longlisted for the Booker, so they are no stranger to being on the long list, and I have actually never read anything from this author before, so I was excited to pick this one up. I have heard about this author in the past and I have heard good things, but this was the first one that I have been able to get to. It will not be my last, I will say, partly because this is also the first book in a quartet of planned novels, and I did like this book enough to pick up that second one whenever it comes out, so that is something to look forward to. So knowing all of that, let's go ahead and get into what this book is about. So the first thing to know is that this book is set in the 90s and it follows our main character Jay. So Jay is a teenager, and at the beginning of the book him and his family are traveling to southern Malaysia because their family has just inherited a farm from their grandfather, or from his grandfather. Now the family kind of knows that this farm is struggling. It hasn't been doing well for years, and they are driving there to see it, to see how it's operating and everything, but there is kind of that known intent as they're making this journey that they are likely going to end up selling this farm. So once they get to the farm, Jay's parents decide it would be a good idea for him to pitch in and help with some of the day-to-day tasks and chores. So he does that, and this is ultimately how we come to meet two additional characters. We have Fong, who is the manager of the farm, and then we have his son, who is named Chuan. So when Jay meets Chuan, he is immediately drawn to him. He is enamored, and there is definitely some tension and chemistry between the two of them. Chuan kind of takes Jay under his wing, introduces him to people, shows him around town, and it doesn't take very long until Jay is very much swept up into his world, and very quickly Jay starts to realize that he is developing feelings for him, and there is a lot of tension and a lot of chemistry between the two of them, and it's reciprocal. And we have Jay, who is, you know, coming into himself, and he's starting to have these feelings and learn who he is, and he's just going through that transition. So this is very much a coming of age story in that sense, as he is coming into his sexuality and that relationship between the two of these characters develops. So I think on the surface of this novel, that is the overarching plot, would be that relationship between Jay and Chuan. However, I think that this book has more to offer than that. I think one of the other things that this book does very well is we get some insight into the lives of the side characters. So we have Jay's parents, and we also have Fong. So with Jay's parents, Jay also has sisters, so we have a lot of narrative about the dynamic between the family as a whole, but we also learn a lot about the relationship between his parents. I think we learn a lot more about his father specifically. So we have Jay's father, who is going through his own transition. He has recently lost his job, and he is at that point in his life where he is starting to wonder where his life is going to go and the meaning of his life. And he's at that midlife crisis moment of his life where he is questioning everything that he has done in the past to lead up to that point. We have that same thing with Fong. So this family is coming. He is the manager of this farm. He has done that the majority of his life. And now that Jay's grandfather has died, even though the farm isn't thriving, he is still hanging on to it with everything that he has. And it's his livelihood and it's his purpose. And here he is at risk of losing it if the family decides to sell it. So you have this kind of lovely juxtaposition between the two sets of male characters in this book. You have Jay and Chuan, who are at the beginning of their lives. You know, the world is their oyster. They have big dreams and they have a lot of time ahead of them, and they are growing and they are flourishing. And then on the other side of that, you have two characters that are questioning everything, and they are on the side of life where, you know, they're closer to death and they are just wondering where they went wrong and how are they going to be able to continue life. Everything that they had hoped for, or everywhere they thought they would be at that point in their life, they're not at. So they were once young, they had the same dreams and they had the same opportunities that Jay and Chuan have, but now you have two lives that are starting, and you have two lives that are perceived by the people that are living those lives that they have been wasted. And I think that it was just a really nice story. I don't think that this is anything that was mind-blowing or life-changing, but I do really appreciate the time that this author took with the characters, and I liked that although I enjoyed the plot line with Jay and Chuan's love story, I really did like that the author took time to develop some of his side characters too. And the only reason that I can think of that he did that is because this is going to be a 4-book series, and we're probably going to learn more about those other characters in the future. I also thought that this book was well written. I thought that the prose was lovely, and to me, I don't think it felt flowery or over the top or forced. I thought everything flowed very naturally, and I really did enjoy his writing style. And then the last thing I will mention about this book for me personally was that I found this to be a very steady paced read, and it had a very much like a slow burn quality to it. We were getting the foundation of this story because there are future books to come. We learned a lot about the characters, we learned a lot about their motivations, we learned a lot about their relationships, and then I feel like toward the very end, that is where things started to spark a little bit. I wouldn't say that we had a cliffhanger at the end, but there was a little bit of vagueness. There was a little bit of dialogue that was open to interpretation, and I'm really curious to see where that goes in the future books. Are we going to pick up right where we left off? Is there going to be a time jump? I'm also worried, are we done with these characters? Just because a book is a part of a series doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be covering the same groups of people. So I am intrigued. It was enough to make me know that I want to pick up the second book in this quartet just to see where we take it from there. And yeah, I'm excited about that. As far as this book making it onto the short list, I don't think so. I think that there are some other books that are probably going to be ahead of it in my opinion, but I do like what this author is doing, and I think that this book is a lot more complex than what it appears to be on the surface, with it kind of being just described as a typical coming of age story, you know, a young man coming into his sexual awakening type of story. I do think that this book delivers way more than that. So we'll see. I'm not sure, but if it did make it, I wouldn't be mad. I didn't dislike this book. I don't think that it was one of my favorites on the long list either, but I do think that it is a decent read, and I am looking forward to continuing the story and learning more about these characters in the future. So yeah, another review down. I am still trying to get all of my reviews out. I'm really starting to doubt whether or not I'll be able to get them all out before the short list is announced on the 23rd, but that's okay. Regardless, I'm still going to put the videos out for all of them, even if they don't make it on to the short list. And until we read again, bye!